Chapter 21. Everything is fated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. The neighbors nimbly arranged the stools to surround Lin Fan. Aunt Zhang and her son stood one side, wanting to see Lin Fan's capabilities. The art of fortune-telling was, after all, a mystery. Although today's society was so advanced, many would still approach fortune-tellers for advice on the important occasions in their life. However, it didn't mean that many believed it. Most people did it for the sake of consolation. The opening was simple. Lin Fan felt that there was a need to answer everyone's small doubts. If there were people who were good with their languages and could give a sound explanation, then the encyclopedic points would definitely be in the bag. In the spring and autumn period, 770. 476 BC, fortune-telling was known as the study of the yin-yang 5 phases of Chinese philosophy. It only flourished in the Tang dynasty, or it could be said that fortune-telling originated from the Tang dynasty. Back then, there was a great master known as Li Suzhong. He created the 4-column method, which is known as the study of the 8 characters today. Lin Fan tried his best to explain clearly, but the neighbors were all lost in the sea of information and did not manage to understand his words. When Lin Fan was finally done with explaining, nothing happened. Literally, none of them understood what he had explained, thus he did not receive any encyclopedic points. Lin Fan sighed and thought, this damned life, the encyclopedic points are so difficult to earn. Master Lin, why not we just go ahead with the fortune-telling? We couldn't understand you despite your detailed explanation. Mr. Zhang smiled and said as he lit up a cigarette. All right. Lin Fan looked closely at Mr. Zhang's face. From an outsider's point of view, he must be fortune-telling already. But to these neighbors, they were just there to join in the fun. But in actual fact, they were still doubtful of Lin Fan. They just listened to how profound the idea was, but how could they believe in what was being preached? The fortune-tellers in the streets these days are all scammers. They could bewitch you with their ambiguous words, but it ultimately depended on whether the listener believed in their words. Then, his entire life flashed past Lin Fan's eyes. Zhang Guoming, 60.3 years old, will die at 80.1 years old, will suffer a small disaster on the 30th of July at 2 p.m. He would fracture his leg while moving some goods. The life of Mr. Zhang could be said to be smooth, with little or no major issues. 30th of July was the very next day. But as Lin Fan thought of the rules in the magical encyclopedia, he knew that he couldn't tell it to Mr. Zhang directly. Mr. Zhang, something bad might happen to you tomorrow, but it won't be life-threatening. Don't worry too much. Lin Fan tried to console Mr. Zhang after breaking the news to him as he saw the fearful look on his face. Xiao Fan, you're not scaring me, right? Mr. Zhang was really frightened by Lin Fan. Although he did not really believe Lin Fan, he still felt a strange feeling. Hee, Lin Fan smiled and said. Don't move any heavy objects tomorrow and you'll be fine. Move things. What heavy things? Mr. Zhang said. Lin Fan shook his head, smiled sheepishly and said, it's a secret, just remember what I said today, then you'll be good. Lin Fan was afraid of being too direct with his words as he did not want to be struck by lightning and end up as a handicapped man. But Lin Fan could tell that Mr. Zhang did not really believe him. To Lin Fan, what needed to be said, had been said. There's always an end to life. They were lucky to be able to find Lin Fan to fortune-tell for them. Ultimately, it all depended if they believed in him, since he had already said what he needed to say. Mr. Zhang, did you hear what Master Lin said? Be more cautious tomorrow. The surrounding neighbors jeered at him. Mr. Zhang turned his head to his left and right and felt a little unhappy. Why would he be faced with a disaster? But these were all requested by him. Even Xiao Fan had said it, he shouldn't be angry. Elder Zhang, Master Lin has already told your fortune. You gotta pay." The neighbors laughed and mocked him as they saw that Mr. Zhang was preparing to leave. "I am already going to have an accident tomorrow, why should I still pay? Ugh, I'm going home." Mr. Zhang slapped himself in the thigh and left. Lin Fan shook his head and did not pursue the matter further. "All of you should have thought things through. I can read your fortune, but if you hear something that you dislike, you shouldn't be unhappy. Life is like this. You can't always lead a good life, and likewise, good things may happen to some people. Today is my opening, and since we're all neighbors, I will do my fortune-telling for free," Lin Fan said. "Xiao Fan, people look at the 8 characters when they fortune-tell. Why don't you ask for them?" The way they greeted Lin Fan had changed. After what happened with Mr. Zhang, some of the people did not call him Master Lin anymore. "I am just basing it on looks. In fortune-telling, there's facial analysis, palmistry, the study of the 8 characters, personal encounters, the study of the heaven and earth," Lin Fan explained. But to these neighbors, they did not understand him at all. "Master Lin, is Mr. Zhang really going to face a disaster tomorrow?" Aunt Zhang asked. Lin Fan just smiled, not saying anything. Everything was recorded in the magical encyclopedia. If one believed in it, it would change one's life. If not, it's just one's fate. Some of the neighbors left as they had something on, while some others all had nothing much to do, and so they decided to stick around to see what Lin Fan would say to them. Everyone had their own life, and not everyone would have something major happen in their lives. Some would only occur in a few years' time, and even in a few decades. Even if you were to mention it now, it would be pointless. Besides Aunt Zhang and her son, the others would just forget about Lin Fan's words if they were to have their fortunes read by him. It would be better not to say. Just when Lin Fan was fortune-telling for the neighbors, something happened at Red Star Primary School. A group of citizens had gathered at the school. "Why isn't Little Boss here today? Sigh, the wait is killing me. If I don't get to eat Little Boss scallion pancakes, I would feel really uncomfortable. It's almost 8, Little Boss isn't even here yet. I have to go to work soon." For those people, the happiest thing that could happen to them was getting a taste of Lin Fan's scallion pancakes. The absence of Lin Fan made them anxious. At a random road junction, Lu Xiaotian was enjoying his day as he was praised by his team leader in the morning. It was all because he did not restrain Little Boss from setting up his stall the other day. He wanted the citizens to be able to purchase good stuff, and hence decided to do away with his original decision to restrain the others. Because of that, it stirred up the reactions of the netizens. As many of the netizens liked what he did. This had improved the image of the city enforcement officers. As the team leader got the news, he praised Xiaotian, which showed that he had done a good job. Lu Xiaotian was still young and he still had tremendous potential for promotion. "Leader, Little Boss did not set up his pancake stall today," a non-uniformed city enforcement officer hurried over and said. "What? Little Boss did not set up the stall?" Lu Xiaotian was furious when he heard the news. He was there just to eat Lin Fan's scallion pancakes. It would be disastrous if he did not set up the stall. Could it be that Little Boss went somewhere else to set up his stall? "Get on the truck, let's go have a look at other places. Maybe Little Boss shifted his stall." Besides them, the ladies over at the Youth Arts magazine publisher were all staring intently at the school entrance and waiting for Lin Fan. Chapter 22. Profound Trickery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. Thereafter, all the neighbors left. Lin Fan felt a little awkward as Aunt Zhang had started to cook a spread in his kitchen. Although it was the best meal that Lin Fan had eaten since he had gotten to Shanghai. Most men were, after all, kind-hearted, and favors ought to be returned. Lin Fan knew that the reason why Aunt Zhang cooked was to thank him for his free fortune-telling. Naturally, Lin Fan accepted it. Initially, Lin Fan had thought the fortune-telling was nothing but a scam. After he found out how powerful his fortune-telling skills were, he became extremely excited about it. Especially those that believed in him and managed to escape the disasters. They all had returned to thank Lin Fan. This gave him a great sense of satisfaction. Which young chap didn't like the feeling of being praised? It was especially so for Lin Fan, who had not accomplished anything after being in Shanghai for such a long time. It wasn't that Lin Fan wasn't hardworking, it was just that he wasn't very lucky. Just then, Lin Fan looked at the time and realized that it was only 1 p.m. There was still quite some time before he needed to set up his stall. Lin Fan proceeded to lie down on his bed. He whipped out his phone and had an idea after he saw the Weibo app on his phone. In the era of the internet, anything could be found online. For his current mission to be a well-respected Master Lin, the internet was a great place for him to fulfill his mission. Weibo was a favorite among the netizens. If Lin Fan could appear on the top searched list on Weibo, he would surely become famous. Lin Fan had registered for Weibo before, but he rarely used it and didn't have many fans. In his opinion, that wasn't a problem. He was now a man of substance and talent, and he felt that he would definitely become famous. Lin Fan opened the Weibo app and logged in. He saw that he only had 35 fans, which was a hard-earned achievement back then. His username was "An Ordinary but Extraordinary Man." The name was tacky, it looked like it belonged to a school kid. As he thought of it further, he remembered that he had created it back when he was in university, and it was some time during his second year. Then, he immediately changed his name. Old Chauffeur turned Fortune Teller, Master Lin. The name looked rather impressive to Lin Fan. As long as a person's not stupid and understands Chinese, he would definitely understand Lin Fan's username. Then, he changed his personal bio. One look to know your past life and another to know your current life. Tag. No it all. Once Lin Fan was satisfied with everything, he posted on Weibo for the first time. Divine fortune teller on earth, there's nothing that I don't know. Free fortune-telling for a limited time only. Leave your name and 8 characters at birth in the comments. After typing the last sentence, Lin Fan felt like something was missing. So, he added another sentence in. If it's not accurate, I'll eat sh*t for you immediately. Lin Fan was finally satisfied with everything. As for the people he used to follow, he unfollowed all of them. After all, he was a divine fortune teller now. He thought that he should wait for people to take the initiative to follow him and not the other way round. Then, Lin Fan downloaded a picture of the 8 divinatory trigrams of the Book of Changes from the internet and used it as his profile picture. After he was done with it, he closed the Weibo app. All he had to do now was wait for people to approach him. Soon, it was 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Lin Fan left his house to set up stall punctually. There was a huge crowd waiting for him when he had arrived at Red Star Primary School, as if he was a superstar. Lin Fan's scallion pancakes were considered to be heaven on earth by residents in the area. A day without it made them anxious. Hence, those that loved the pancakes all added each other on WeChat and created a group. A notification would be sent out immediately when Lin Fan came to set up his stall. Breaking news. Little Boss is back. Those who are free, please come here quickly. I'll go queue up for it first. Lin Fan was that popular. Just one morning without selling his pancakes made life difficult for a lot of people. Pal, why are you so slow today? Did you get a girlfriend? Was yesterday night too tiring for you? Fraud Tian laughed and asked. Go. Fraud Tian was acting chummy with Lin Fan. One look at him and he could tell that he wanted a favor from Lin Fan. But as Lin Fan thought about his fortune-telling career further and said, Fraud Tian, don't rush back home later. I have something to tell you. What is it? Could it be that you're gay for me? Fraud Tion's stall counter was stuck beside Lin Fan's. As a result, his business had also improved. However, the tone he had adopted was suspicious. Get lost. Lin Fan did not want to speak to Fraud Tion further. This B***** was already quite advanced in age, but he was still so wretched and perverted. As for the residents who had eaten Lin Fan's scallion pancakes, they were all making awkward facial expressions which made the situation a little worse. Handsome, can I have your WeChat? A girl said to Lin Fan loudly and clearly, just as his head was lowered while he was preparing the pancakes. Lin Fan raised his head and was a little taken aback. The girl was so pretty. It looks like the area was definitely a precious plot of land. There were so many pretty babes around that area. But for Lin Fan, was he really going to give his WeChat so freely? Why do you want it for? Lin Fan said coldly in pretense. Hua Han was shocked. She was such a pretty lady and she didn't expect to be asked such a question when she had already taken the initiative to ask for Lin Fan's WeChat. Hua Han felt that something was wrong. Handsome, you're so indifferent. Hua Han was a little angry when she had said it. Yeah. Lin Fan just nodded and said. Babe, I have WeChat. How about I add you? Fraud Tion suddenly interrupted. As for Lin Fan rejecting such a request from a pretty lady like Hua Han, he deserved to be struck by lightning. You, get lost. Hua Han said, without even looking at Fraud Tion. Then she turned to Lin Fan and asked, You're really not giving me your WeChat? Yeah, I'm not giving you. Lin Fan replied. Hua Han was so furious that her face had turned red. Then, she said, if you don't give it to me, I would shout to everyone saying that you abandoned me and you're my husband. Lin Fan furrowed his brows and thought, this chick has got some tricks up her sleeve. But if he was to really talk about tricks, she's probably just a beginner compared to Lin Fan. Babe, shout then I'll kiss you. Do you believe me? Lin Fan wasn't afraid to match up to her shameless behavior. Lin Fan counties with his work and waited for her to make her next move. After waiting for a while, he realized that she had not moved. Out of curiosity, he looked up. Just as he raised his head, he realized that the girl's eyes had turned red, her nose was wiggling as if she was going to cry. What the F***ck? This brat could really put up a show, she could even cry on the spot. Lin Fan thought in disbelief. Then, he waved his hands and said, Fine, you win. Just take it and scroll through. Lin Fan took out his phone and opened the WeChat app before letting her scroll through once. After she had added him on WeChat, she let out an evil and cunning smile. What the F***ck? Are you really an actor? If you were, I'd give you full marks for that. Lin Fan felt defeated when he saw that the girl was instantly back to normal. Handsome, how did you know I had always wanted to be a superstar? Hua Han asked. Lin Fan took another look and realized that this chick really wanted to become a superstar. She wasn't joking. Your scallion pancakes. Lin Fan passed her a bag of pancakes that he had just wrapped. Hua Han quickly took the pancakes over from Lin Fan and smiled. She then said, I am Hua Han, my colleagues and I are all loyal fans of your scallion pancake. Lin Fan introduced himself, smiled and said, your dream to become a superstar might really come true one day. When Hua Han heard what he said, she laughed and replied, Handsome, you're using such an outdated method to flirt. I love my job now, I guess my dream's impossible to come true. But still, thank you for that. See you. Lin Fan shrugged his shoulders and thought, this chick has got so many tricks up her sleeve. Then, Lin Fan continued with his work until he finished selling his ingredients. By then, it was already night time, and so, he started to pack up his stall. Fraud, let's go. Chapter 23. One for you, one for me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations at the roadside stalls. Hey youngster, why are you so kind-hearted today? Fraud Tian asked as he drank his beer. It was as if the sun had risen from the west. Lin Fan had always remembered the fact that he had been cheated of $100, but he still treated him to a mug of beer. Lin Fan thought that since he was going to become a master, he would need followers in future. After all, Huang Tianming was already an experienced fraud and he had decent skills. If he could convince him to join him, then things would be better in future. Fraud Tian, full name. Tian Hanming. 45 years of age, from Handong. You have 2 brothers and a sister. You're the oldest of them all and both of your parents are still alive. Lastly, you're still single and not married. Fraud Tian really didn't know what Lin Fan wanted, he just continued eating shelled peanuts. But when he heard Lin Fan's words, he was flabbergasted. Did you check up on me? Tian Hanming was dumbfounded. He was shocked beyond words when Lin Fan managed to even recite his past happenings to him. That's literally impossible. Fraud Tian was shocked. He was also a fortune teller. Could it be that this man was an even better fraud than him? You said you're a fortune teller. Fraud Tian said in disbelief. He was in the same trade and he knew that he had to base his assumptions on something, just like 1 + 1 is equal to 2. They had a comprehensive list of principles when it came to fortune telling. There was a fixed set of rules when it came to one's birth. Everything was written in there and one could discern it easily if they knew how to. You'd be able to take advantage of someone else with your legs later, Lin Fan smiled and said. Fraud Tian was in disbelief. Wasn't that bullsh*t, taking advantage of someone with my legs? I'd rather use my hands. Slam, Brother June reserved this place today, please get out of here. A skimpily dressed girl with tattoo-covered arms walked towards them and said arrogantly. The small crowd of dispersed customers was from the same place of residence as Brother June. When they had heard his name, they were all shocked. Did they just mention Brother June, the leader of the biggest gang in their place of residence? It was Brother Wubao June. Scuffling noises then, the small crowd of customers all left without saying much. The boss just nodded his head repeatedly upon hearing Wubao June's infamous name. Slam, the skimpily dressed woman slammed Lin Fan's table and the beer had spilled all over it. Get lost, she ordered. Then, she turned around to take orders from her leader and she started to prepare some things. Then, Lin Fan just smiled and asked, you can tolerate that? No. Fraud Tian was furious. But they knew that this girl was so arrogant because she had a strong backing. They knew they couldn't start a fight with her. You see her ass. The left side's yours and right side's mine. Let's give her a kick and run away. How does that sound? Okay, let's do it, Fraud Tian said as he nodded. Okay, let's go. Then, Lin Fan stood up and settled the protection fees with the woman as she stared at him fiercely. Lin Fan was extremely pissed at the way she was looking at him. If he had unlocked the page for martial arts, he would have kicked her in her boobs immediately. After paying the fees, Fraud Tian and Lin Fan stood together behind the woman. They looked at each other and thought of the same thing. 1, 2, 3, kick. Slam, ah. Who's the B***** that kicked me in the ass? Lin Fan and Fraud Tian kicked her at each side and quickly ran away. B****, you better not get caught by me. If not, I'll chop you up, the woman shouted with rage. The people that were walking past saw what had happened and started to laugh. By this time, Fraud Tian and Lin Fan had already run miles away. What the? You actually dared to do that? Want to join me from now on? Okay, but how do we split the money? Monthly pay of $3,000 with year-end bonuses, Lin Fan said. You're so heartless. My monthly income from the overhead bridge is not even this little, Fraud Tian complained. What am I? Lin Fan asked. A divine fortune teller. That's right, I'm a divine fortune teller. When my reputation increases in future, you'll receive more pay. There's plenty of money waiting for you. That's true. Fine, I'll do it, Fraud Tian said after he thought about it for a while. At the small De Yuan district in Shanghai. This district in Shanghai was mainly in charge of administrative educational work. Their time belonged to the organization and they could only knock off from work after working hours. Yang Yongkang had been standing for the whole day as he taught his students. He was a teacher in charge of a class and therefore he had more work to do than others. After a long day of work, he would return home exhausted. 8:30 p.m. Yang Yongkang reached home and rinsed the vegetables that he had just bought, to prepare for dinner. Yang Yongkang thought he could buy some scallion pancakes from the vendor outside Red Star Primary School but realized that his stall was already closed. 9 p.m. Yang Yongkang ate his dinner alone and read the news on his phone. As he had been helping some of his students financially, he could only lead a simple life. He couldn't afford to eat and drink like a king but he was satisfied with just filling his stomach. His 2 children were working and studying at the same time while attending university. He only had to transfer a bit of money to them as they were capable of earning the rest on their own. Furthermore, they had a scholarship which considerably reduced the burden on Yang Yongkang. It was 9:30 p.m. He had finished his dinner and washed the dishes. He wanted to switch off the TV and go to bed but the TV screen attracted his attention. The first number is 02. 04, 12, 04. 12 ball rolling sounds could be heard from the TV. The fourth number is 14. The sixth number is 24. Then, for the last number. If one got all 7 matching numbers, he would win the top prize which was a $15 million in cash. 020412 This is the most money that the dual-colored ball lottery has ever offered for the top prize. It was as if the host's voice had some kind of magical power over everyone. It attracted thousands upon thousands of people to witness the lottery results. 020412. Then, Yang Yongkang suddenly remembered the lottery ticket in his wallet. The numbers seemed a little familiar but he wasn't sure of it. The numbers were random and not chosen by him. Therefore he only took a glimpse of it and didn't pay close attention to it. He took the lottery ticket out of his wallet and matched the numbers with those on the TV. His suddenly lit up. Even his breathing rate had increased. The first 6 numbers are exactly the same. That. Alright, the last number is 6 plus 1, if he could match all the numbers, he would win the top prize. Yang Yongkang had never been interested in lotteries, but this time, he was on the edge of his seat. He held the lottery ticket tightly and waited patiently for the last number to be revealed. Chapter 24. How do we continue from here? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations Yang Yongkang had never been this nervous. Special number, 15. The lottery numbers are 02, 04, 12, 14, 17, 24, 15. Yang Yongkang's mind was blank as if something had smashed his head. But at that moment, Yang Yongkang suddenly remembered what Little Boss had told him. Mr. Yang, you must buy the lottery ticket when you reach the school. Your luck is off the charts. How would he know? Unless Little Boss really knew how to read people's fortunes. Yang Yongkang was stunned. Even if he didn't believe it, he still had to. Luck. Although Yang Yongkang sort of believed in it, the person who told him that was Little Boss. If it wasn't Little Boss who told him that, he wouldn't even stop at the lottery center. He would also never have bought lottery tickets in the first place. Yang Yong-kong rubbed his eyes as he analyzed the numbers on the TV screen. He then looked at his own lottery ticket. The numbers matched. Grunting noises, Yang Yong-kong gulped. He wasn't going to be able to sleep tonight. Mr. Yang, you should listen to yourself and continue to buy lottery tickets, right? Lin Fan had initially wanted to use Mr. Yang as an experiment to test his fortune-telling skills, but now he didn't have to anymore. Lin Fan could safely say that his fortune-telling abilities were nothing that he imagined. It was capable of defying the laws of nature. He was going to reach greater heights from now on. Right, I'll just read your fortune. Nothing too complicated. Lin Fan suddenly realized that something was amiss when he read Mr. Yang's fortune. What is going on? I thought I read that Mr. Yang had unparalleled luck. How did it turn into a smooth sailing life? This wasn't logical at all. Lin Fan couldn't make sense of it, so he brushed it off. Maybe he'll understand it in the future. Lin Fan took out his phone and accessed Weibo to catch up on the happenings around him. Damn. My fan base only increased by 6 followers. That's way too little. Lin Fan was disappointed. The name that he had was not too bad. Why didn't the number of viewers match up? Lin Fan saw 2 comments on his post. Username: Autumn Swordfish Killer. Haha. The fortune tellers of today have finally caught up with technology and have started using Weibo as a site to do business. How retarded. Lin Fan wasn't too happy to see that comment. That user was just out to humiliate him. Lin Fan laughed as he read the second comment. There were still people who believed in him. Weibo user, Joy in Chaos. Wang Mingyang, male, born on October 4, 1991, born between 3-5 p.m. Please read my fortune. Lin Fan's post had been there for just an afternoon, and there was already one person who wanted their fortune read. It wasn't a bad start after all. Lin Fan started calculating and reading his fortune following the data that the person provided. The encyclopedia was awesome. Fortune telling was so easy with it. Oh. This person's fortune reading looks good. Looks like everything is fated, now wasn't the time to be in awe. Lin Fan immediately got on with sending a reply. Your desire to gamble will take control over you, and will make you bankrupt. This wasn't too direct, but any sensible person could directly tell what it meant. After Lin Fan made a few corrections, he sent out another Weibo post. Free online fortune readings, last 2 days. Lin Fan immediately closed his Weibo after he did that as he prepared to sleep. His fortune-telling journey would officially begin tomorrow. Lin Fan was so contented with the encyclopedia. It was almost a dream come true. Lin Fan was like any other young person who wanted to get rich. However, he had to put in a lot of hard work to achieve that. If he wanted to make a fortune, all he had to do was to take Mr. Yang's lottery ticket. After all, it was as simple as conning Mr. Yang of his lottery ticket after he had bought it. It wasn't difficult to pull off for Lin Fan, but it would be a major dick move if he did that. The next day. Ding dong. Who's that knocking on my door this early? Lin Fan asked groggily. It's me, old man Tian. Fraud Tian shouted from outside. I'm coming, I'm coming. Why this early though? Fraud Tian walked in with a bag of things as Lin Fan opened the door. What is this? Lin Fan rubbed his eyes as he asked. Didn't you say you wanted to team up with me to read people's fortunes? I brought over all my little gimmicks and gadgets. Fraud Tian opened his bag and dumped out everything. What are all these things? There's even a compass in here. Lin Fan was stunned as he saw all the fortune reading tools in front of him. You'll sometimes need to read people's feng shui. You can't do without all these fortune-telling gear. Lin Fan stared helplessly. All these gimmicks were useless to Lin Fan. He was more interested in having his own shop. The biggest concern was the expensive shop rental prices in Shanghai. Fraud Tian and Lin Fan were both broke. They had no capital, to begin with. Fraud Tian and Lin Fan were busy for the whole day until around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They had finally finished what they needed to do. They set up shop at their original counter. The only difference was the signboard which read, Divine Master Lin. Red Star Primary School. Lin Fan's stall got a lot of attention from the people walking by. At that moment, Fraud Tian stood on a chair and hollered at the top of his voice. The iron-mouthed Master Lin, ladies and gentlemen. With one word he'll tell life and death, wealth and poverty. Lin Fan wondered what Fraud Tian was going to say. As he started talking, Lin Fan immediately stopped him. Fraud Tian was so unreliable. Little Boss has opened his stall. Lin Fan's scallion pancakes were legendary in that area. Everyone would remember how delicious his pancakes were. As soon as they saw him open his shop, they all rushed over. Little Boss, I've been waiting for you to open your shop since morning. But now that you're here, we can finally buy some scallion pancakes, one of his regular customers said before taking a look at the new signboard which stunned him. Little Boss, what happened? Lin Fan gave a sly smile and said, I've changed my profession. I now specialize in fortune reading. Ah. Why did you ever do that? There's no future in fortune reading. Your scallion pancakes are way better. Lin Fan's scallion pancakes were the life of all the regular customers. More and more people gathered around Lin Fan's stall as they rushed over to buy scallion pancakes. All the regular customers got the shock of their lives when they found out that Lin Fan had wanted to change profession. Lin Fan's stall started becoming more crowded. All the people around him were trying to convince Lin Fan to sell scallion pancakes instead. If Lin Fan had followed their advice and continued selling scallion pancakes instead of doing fortune reading, he would definitely be struck by lightning. Little Boss, you can read my fortune. But you must make me a scallion pancake once you're done. Yes, that's right. I'll pay for the fortune reading and the pancakes, but I have to get the pancakes. Lin Fan felt like giving up after hearing all that. His scallion pancakes couldn't possibly be that good, could it? Guys, I'm really not going to make any more scallion pancakes. I'm just a fortune teller now. If anyone is interested, please do try. Lin Fan said. Little Boss, please pity us. We need your scallion pancakes. Fortune reading is a scam and it can't possibly beat your scallion pancakes. Yeah. This whole fortune telling thing is all just a hoax. Lin Fan looked at Fraud Tian helplessly. If this were to continue, his fortune-telling business would not survive. He might not even be able to fulfill his mission requirements. A loud sound emanated from far away while the crowd was trying to persuade Lin Fan to continue selling scallion pancakes. The voice sounded extremely excited. Little Boss. As Lin Fan turned to see who it was, the corners of his mouth curved upwards. His savior had finally arrived. Chapter 25. Based on this you are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations Yang Yong Kong was full of energy. He didn't even sleep last night. The next morning, he brought his identification documents and the lottery ticket to the main lottery center in Shanghai. $15 million. He had actually won $15 million. Most people couldn't even earn that much money in their entire lifetime. If Yang Yong Kong hadn't eaten or drunk for his entire life, he wouldn't even have been able to earn that much money. After he was done with everything, the first person he thought of was Lin Fan. If not for him, he wouldn't have bought the lottery ticket. Little Boss. Yang Yong Kong was so excited that his face and ears turned red. Mr. Yang, don't panic. Speak slowly. Lin Fan smiled and said. The surrounding customers knew what had happened the day before, so they interrupted to mock Lin Fan. Little boss, look. Mr. Yang is here to settle scores with you. Mr. Yang, did you waste your money on the lottery ticket that day? It's good that you're here today. Little boss said he was going to be a fortune teller and quit the pancake business. Don't you think it's a joke? Said a resident. I won. I really won. Mr. Yang was full of admiration and respect for Lin Fan. He would have gone down on his knees and worshipped Lin Fan like a god if he could. Won what? The residents were all confused. Yang Yongkong calmed himself down and sternly said, 2 days ago, little boss reminded me to buy a lottery ticket even though I wasn't a fan of it. However, I bought a ticket that day at the school entrance after I heard what he told me. I actually won the first prize after matching the numbers yesterday night. The residents were all doubtful of his words. How many numbers did you win by? Just $10, right? You're just here for free scallion pancakes, right? Looks like little boss really has some talent. If I were to buy a ticket every day, I would get free scallion pancakes in future too. Yang Yongkong anxiously said, No, I won the first prize. $15 million. Huh? What? Every single resident was stunned beyond words. It was as if they had just seen a cow flying in the sky. Those who had heard what he said started to laugh. They said, Little boss, where are your morals? How could you gang up with Mr. Yang to lie to us? We don't believe in that bullsh*t. Just as the conversation ended, several reporter vans came and a large number of reporters charged out of the vans. Mr. Yang. Mr. Yang. These reporters were from the large newspaper publishers of Shanghai. This was a potential big headline. The scale of the news article for winning the first prize wasn't always a contender for a big headline. Most of the people who had won the first prize rejected the interviews. But it was the first time in history that someone had won over $15 million, the highest amount ever. $2 won him $15 million. They initially wanted to just interview Yang Yongkong and did not expect to find out any shocking piece of news. They just wanted to know how he was feeling. Mr. Yang was unexpectedly someone who has never bought any lottery tickets before, and he had wanted to donate the remaining amount of money to educational organizations after paying off all his debts. The reporters were all shocked beyond words. It was the first time they had witnessed such a thing happen. In the past, there were cases of charitable winners, but the most they had donated was merely a few $100,000. As for Mr. Yang, who wanted to donate over $10 million to charity, the reporters had the potential to write big headlines with that piece of information. Then, the reporters followed Mr. Yang to the respective educational organizations and witnessed him donate all the money away. But just before he donated, he took out $300,000 from the winnings and kept it for himself. From all the reporters' point of views, they were full of nothing but respect for Mr. Yang. They could only use respect to describe the feeling they had towards him. He only kept $300,000 with him and he had donated everything else. Then, they realized that the $300,000 was to be given to someone else. This gave them more things to write about. Especially after hearing what Yang Yongkong said, they all felt extremely curious. Without Little Boss, there wouldn't even be this winning ticket. Lin Fan was also stunned by the situation that had happened in front of him. It created such a big commotion. The reporters rushed out of the place as if they were stalking a superstar. Mr. Yang, do you regret donating everything away? The residents in the vicinity couldn't believe what they had seen. Did he really King win $15 million? One of the residents who knew what had happened 2 days ago, pulled one of the reporters and asked, what happened? Mr. Yang really won the first prize. Initially, the reporter that was dragged out was rather unhappy as the resident had prevented him from conducting his interview. Suddenly, He realized how stupid the question was. What did he mean by really won? Could it be that there was something more to the story? Hi sir, Mr. Yang has won the first prize for the double-colored ball lottery. The prize was $15 million. What were you implying when you asked if he had really won? The reporter placed his microphone in front of the man, hoping to get more juicy news. The other reporters who heard their conversation also did the same thing. At that instant, the resident was shocked and couldn't believe what he had heard. All that was going through his mind was, he won $15 million. Sir, what's wrong? Could you tell us? The reporter noticed his reaction and anxiously asked. Why was this man so shocked? Then, the other residents who had the same reaction came over and said, this was what happened. 2 days ago, Little Boss told Mr. Yang that he was going to win big money. He told him to buy a lottery ticket. Initially, we all told it was a joke. But he really won the first prize. After he told them the story, the resident exclaimed to Lin Fan, Little Boss, I don't want my scallion pancake anymore, just help me read my fortune. The situation became really chaotic, everyone was having their own conversation. Although $15 million wasn't exactly considered to be a massive sum of money in Shanghai, it definitely wasn't a small sum. What shocked the crowd was the fact that Little Boss had reminded Mr. Yang to purchase the ticket. If not for what they had witnessed, nobody would have believed what they said. Yang Yongkong took out a credit card from his pocket and shook Lin Fan's hand. Little Boss, I am truly grateful for you. This card has $300,000 in it, it's what you deserve. Lin Fan had accepted Yang Yongkang's gift of gratitude as he felt that he deserved it. Besides, with his current stall front for fortune-telling, it did seem a little underwhelming. If he had the money, he could use it to rent a nicer place to set up his stall. But what had shocked Lin Fan was the fact that Mr. Yang donated all his money away. Mr. Yang, did you really donate all your money? Lin Fan asked. Yes, I donated all of it. I am more than satisfied with my life even if I were to die now. I used to fascinate about what I would do if I had a large sum of money. But now I know that education of others holds the highest place in my heart. Mr. Yang said emotionally as if he was going to cry. Lin Fan nodded after hearing what Mr. Yang had said. He was full of respect for him for donating over $10 million without saving any for himself. At the same time, Lin Fan understood the reason why Mr. Yang decided to do that. As a teacher, he had dedicated his entire life to educating others, and that's probably the reason why. He thought that Mr. Yang would definitely be promoted to be the principal. Hi Little Boss, may I know what's your occupation? Hi Little Boss, may I know why you requested for Mr. Yang to purchase the lottery ticket? And how did you know that he would win the first prize? Lin Fan just smiled to the reporters, took a few steps backward as he pointed to something that was beside him and said, it's because of this. Chapter 26. Everything came true. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. The reporters looked towards the direction Lin Fan pointed at and were all stunned when they saw the few shiny words. They just realized that these words were so flashy. It said, Divine Master Lin. In the minds of the reporters, it was as if they had seen 10,000 images flashing across their faces. Little Boss. Call me Master Lin. Lin Fan was trying to get used to being a fortune-teller. From then on, he was no longer the scallion pancake man that everyone knew him as. He was Master Lin that nobody had heard of. The reporters finally had something juicy to write about when they got back to the office. Especially for one of the reporters, which is from the UC News department that was known for their unexciting, breaking news, he was so emotional that his face had turned red. Big news indeed. He had even thought of the title of the article. Breaking news. The Master of Four Phases Master Lin helps Mr. Yang to win the first prize of the double-colored ball lottery. Master Lin, what did you base your calculations on when you predicted that Mr. Yang would win the first prize? Reporter asked. Lin Fan smiled and replied, actually you've already mentioned the answer. Everything was done based on my own prediction and calculations. The reporter was taken aback by Lin Fan's reply. There was no difference between him replying or not as he still didn't obtain a substantial answer. Master Lin, everyone knows that street fortune-telling is full of rubbish. Could it be that you have some form of spiritual connection or power? Another reporter asked. I was born with this natural talent. As for the others on the street, I wouldn't know if they're scammers, I wouldn't want to comment on that. As for me, I'm able to predict every single thing. There he was, confident and arrogant. Lin Fan felt like he had the world in his hands, he felt invincible. Master Lin, don't you think your words were too unbelievable? In this modern age with such advanced technology, aren't you afraid of the media's potential criticism? The reporter asked. I'm not afraid. If anyone's not happy with what I've said, they can come to me or leave their birth 8 characters with me. I can tell them about their entire life. Lin Fan smiled and did not take the reporter's words to heart. The current mission on hand was to become a well-respected Master Lin. Lin Fan had hoped for more people to find trouble with him so that he can make use of them to blow up his popularity. The reporters were getting increasingly interested. It was indeed a strange incident to report. This information would add flair to their article about the dual-colored ball lottery winner. While Lin Fan was being pestered by the reporters, something happened at the house which he rented. Old Man Zhang, are you looking to buy a washing machine? At the entrance of Old Man Zhang's house, a passerby looked at how busy he was and made a casual remark as he laughed. Yeah, my daughter ordered it on the internet or something. I already told her there was no need for it but she still went to buy it. Looks like I just have to use it, Old Man Zhang smiled and replied. He was actually really proud of his daughter. I could beat my chest and proudly say that it was bought by my daughter. You gotta be careful when you move it. Master Lin said you'll face something bad today, a neighbor shouted as he walked away further. What Master Lin? This brat is just spouting rubbish. How about saying that something disastrous would happen to me every single day? Old Man Zhang waved his hand and did not think much of his words. If this small devil could be called a master, what would you call the best fortune-teller in the world have to be? Ugh, it hurts. At the next moment, his scream could be heard. The neighbors quickly rushed out of their house without hesitation. Their relationship with Old Man Zhang was considered to be decent. Upon hearing his scream, they stopped whatever they were doing to help. Old Man Zhang, what's wrong? Old Man Zhang. When the crowd had arrived at his house, all they saw was Old Man Zhang lying on the ground with the brand new washing machine beside him. Old Man Zhang was really sweaty and his right leg looked out of shape. My leg is killing me. Old Man Zhang screamed as he breathed deeply. It looks like a fracture. Don't move, Old Man Zhang. Someone quickly. Call the ambulance. The neighbors scrambled to help Old Man Zhang. Old Man Zhang suddenly thought of Lin Fan's words as he was lying on the ground. He could not believe that it really happened. Could it really be that accurate? As Old Man Zhang thought about it further, he was in greater disbelief. Then, the neighbors beside him started to discuss it. That can't be right, yesterday Lil Fan really did say that Old Man Zhang would face a disaster today. Yeah, Lil Fan told Old Man Zhang to be more cautious and do not love anything heavy. Today, the moment Old Man Zhang went to shift something heavy, he fractured his leg. We can't confirm that. Lil Fan had reminded him yesterday. Surely Old Man Zhang did not keep his words in mind. If not, how could things have turned out this way? The crowd suddenly thought of what had happened while they were trying to help Old Man Zhang. They were all present at that time when Lin Fan had reminded Old Man Zhang. However, they did not think much of his words too. Then, Aunt Zhang came from a distance away, and when she saw what had happened, she frantically asked, "Old man Zhang, what happened to you?" "Aunt Zhang, you're back." What Lil Fan said was true. Old man Zhang fractured his leg while moving the washing machine. Aunt Zhang walked over to old man Zhang, and when she saw the condition of his leg, she was extremely shocked. The injury looked pretty serious. "Old man Zhang, why didn't you believe in Lil Fan's words? He is truly a talented man. Look, now you believe him, right?" Aunt Zhang mentioned. In her heart, she started to trust Lin Fan even more. Whatever he said really came true, he was indeed a living god. "I believe him now, I really do. When Lil Fan gets back, I will surely clarify things with him," Old man Zhang said as he was cold sweating from the pain. "All right, but when the ambulance arrives later, you'll be in the hospital for some time. A fractured leg needs a rather long time to recover. If you had listened, this wouldn't have happened." Aunt Zhang shook her head and said. Aunt Zhang was an old lady, and with regards to fortune-telling, sometimes she'd believe in them. But for Lin Fan to predict everything so accurately, it was the first time she had witnessed something like that. Looks like Lil Fan was really a capable man. His words really came true. Meanwhile, at Red Star Primary School, Lin Fan was quickly surrounded by a huge number of people. The reporters felt like they had witnessed something extremely magical for the first time. There were all sorts of lottery winners in history. Some had a sudden urge to buy a ticket, some had the feeling that they'd win, and some. There were so many different types of winners. But for today's situation, it was one of a kind. Someone had won the first prize based on fortune-telling. Even if it was to be told to others, nobody would have believed it. But for these reporters, it was a rewarding day. They were still in some sort of disbelief. For someone to believe this, the person must be an idiot. To them, it was just luck. Thereafter, Mr. Yang and the reporters left. The remaining passer-bys surrounded Lin Fan. They all had wanted to have their fortunes told by Lin Fan. But what turned Lin Fan off was that these people just wanted to know if they would win the lottery. In Lin Fan's opinion, weren't they just trying their luck? If it was really that easy to win the lottery ticketing center would have closed down long ago. Chapter 27. Weibo Problems. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. The higher the expectation, the greater the disappointment. Lin Fan thought that the residents would trust him a lot after the whole saga with Mr. Yang helping to advertise for him. But what made Lin Fan fed up was that all these residents were just asking about when they would win the lottery. Lin Fan finally understood that he thought too many things. Mr. Yang winning the lottery had such a great impact on them that besides winning the lottery, they did not care about anything else. The sky must be falling, how could these people be like that? Who's to say someone had to win the top prize every day? That's just luck, all right. Do you agree, Fraud Tian? Lin Fan sighed as he sat on the stool after everyone had left. He was exhausted. Fraud. Lin Fan shouted for a few times but did not get any reply. Then, as he turned behind, he only saw Fraud Tian's sly look as if he wanted a favor from him. "Why are you looking at me for?" Lin Fan asked. Then, Fraud Tian suddenly screamed. After that, he said softly, "Don't tell me you managed to predict the winning ticket. Weren't you there on that afternoon?" Lin Fan rebutted. He knew that even Fraud Tian wouldn't believe in what had actually happened. Could it be that there is really a divine fortune-teller in this world? Even the best and most renowned fortune-teller from Lianzhou, Mr. Wu Tian, he is a fraud. If you're really able to fortune tell so accurately, you are destined to earn big money. Fraud Tian mumbled to himself and seemed a little agitated. Who is this Wu Tian he? Lin Fan asked. That's the most renowned fortune teller from Lianzhou. Many court officials and superstars believe him. He's considered to be one of the best in this field of work, Fraud Tian said enviously. Looks like you envy him a lot. Why should you be so envious? I can be that King awesome too. Now that I have $300,000, let's use it tomorrow to go look for him. Let's use an official way to expand our business. Lin Fan was now filled with noble aspirations. Although the knowledge he had in making scallion pancakes was all fraudulent, this second one was indeed decent. He could change someone's life in a sentence. If he had the opportunity to meet someone wealthy, he would have been able to earn big bucks. All Lin Fan wanted to do was to earn lots of money so that he could become the master Lin that everyone respected and then unlock the second page of the encyclopedia. If he received another piece of godly knowledge, then his life would be changed for good. Fraud Tian listened to Lin Fan's perfect plan and was mesmerized by it as he thought of the luxurious life he was going to have in the future. Lin Fan had packed up his stall early in the afternoon. When Lin Fan returned home, the neighbors welcomed him warmly. Lil Fan. No, I mean Master Lin is back. Master Lin's fortune-telling is so d*mn accurate. Elder Zhang really fractured his leg today. Master Lin, please look at us and read our fortunes. Lin Fan was so fed up with these neighbors, but he realized that there was nothing more that he could have done. Elder Zhang did not believe in his words and he couldn't have forced him to do so. If the other party didn't want to believe him, he wouldn't have been able to help further. But these neighbors were pestering him for their fortunes to be read and that gave Lin Fan a headache. He had previously done it for them and there was nothing significant worth mentioning. Ladies and gentlemen, I have already done it for all of you yesterday. There's really nothing much. Lin Fan said as he waved his hand as he tried to brush them aside. Ugh, we're begging you, Master Lin, please help us once more. Yeah, just once more. Do it more specifically for us. Lin Fan did not want to waste any more time on them. I'm exhausted, I will be busy with the opening of my fortune-telling stall. You guys can come show your support then. Lin Fan did not help them with another attempt at fortune-telling. They were all rather disappointed. If they had known that Lin Fan was so accurate, they would have paid more attention to him and let him have a more in-depth analysis that day. It was too late for them to regret. At some luxurious hall in the night, 8 p.m. A group of wealthy and ruddy people walked out. The man who was walking in front of everyone else looked really depressed. Chief Wang, you lost quite a sum of money today. Don't take it to heart, let's play again next time when we have the chance, a man smiled and said. No problem, it's just small money, Wang Mingyang replied with a half-smile. Although he did not seem like he cared about the money he had lost, he was actually furious. Of course, 3 million is indeed peanuts to Chief Wang. What's $3 million to someone like Chief Wang? Anyway, guys, I'll leave first. I'll see you guys again soon. The people around Chief Wang all left one after another. When everyone was gone, Wang Mingyang got into his car. Son of a b*tch, how dare they cheat my money? To Wang Mingyang, $3 million was indeed peanuts. But what infuriated him was the fact that the others had ganged up against him to win a fortune from him. If it was really based on luck, Wang Mingyang would have had nothing to say, but that was clearly a scam. That made him furious. Initially, Wang Mingyang did not see through their tricks. Then, it got weirder and weirder. For someone like Wang Mingyang who cared about his pride more than anything, he just continued to finish the game. If it was really based on luck or skills, he would have accepted the defeat. King Hell, take the 3 million and buy each of yourselves a coffin. When Wang Mingyang had reached home, his butler had already prepared his meal. At the dining table, Wang Mingyang whipped out his phone and read the news. Then, he opened Weibo and read a few messages. Just before he closed the app, there was a reply which he opened immediately. Ha! He was stunned by what he had seen. Gamble a little for fun, gamble frequently and you'll destroy your life. Also, you'll lose money tomorrow. Wang Mingyang noticed that the reply was from the previous day. This made him extremely curious. How could the person have known that he was going to lose money the very next day? Then, Wang Mingyang replied, "When can I win money?" Wang Mingyang was not addicted to gambling but he wanted to test the powers of Master Lin. A short while after he had sent his message, Master Lin replied. Tomorrow afternoon, same place and position. When Wang Mingyang saw the message, he smiled subtly and thought that it was impossible to be that accurate. But Wang Mingyang wanted to see if it was really true. Alright, if I win tomorrow, I'll donate 1 million to you. He sent the message and exited the Weibo app. Then, he made a call to those that had played with him today to arrange for another game the next day. Meanwhile, Lin Fan read the message and thought to himself, the wealthy are indeed domineering. Besides Wang Mingyang, nobody else actually contacted for Lin Fan on the Weibo app. Indeed, it was pretty hard to socialize on Weibo. Lin Fan was really envious of Wang Mingyang for having such an awesome life as he has so much money from his family's inheritance at such a young age. He's got such a valiant life. Chapter 28. Two Stupid Idiots. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. The very next day. The moment Lin Fan got out of his bed, he saw a WeChat text. Handsome, quickly set up your stall. He recognized the profile picture which belonged to Hua Han, the girl that had added herself using his phone. Lin Fan did not reply as he had planned to stop the scallion pancake business for good. Lin Fan took a quick rinse and left the house to meet Fraud Tian to look for a place to start up his official fortune-telling career. In order to become a well-respected Master Lin, it seemed rather difficult. It wasn't as easy as Lin Fan had thought. He had to continue working hard. Fraud, Lin Fan said as he saw Fraud Tian standing there from a distance. Why are you so late? Fraud Tian asked. F***ck, how's this considered late? It's just 8:30 a.m. Lin Fan said. How was it? Did you see any suitable options? I took a look around before you came and I've found 3 good locations. Let's go have a look. Lin Fan was pretty wealthy at that point in time, with $300,000 to spend which seemed just enough to rent a proper stall. Lin Fan followed Fraud Tian to the first potential stall identified by Tian, which was located in the center of the blocks. It was 40 square meters in area and with the special transfer fees and whatnot, it added up to more than $300,000. Don't have to look further, we'll pass on this. This location's really good but it's too expensive for Lin Fan. The second one was decent, although it was located at the end of the block. As the saying went, quality goods needed no advertising. With the fortune-telling skills possessed by Lin Fan, he was surely going to be successful if he was willing to put in the effort. But after a series of questions, Lin Fan decided to pass on it. The rental for the stall had to be paid monthly and a long-term contract couldn't be established as the place might be sold at any point in time. Lin Fan had wanted to venture into fortune-telling as his career and the mission needed him to become a well-respected master which was not easy to achieve. If the stall closed down in a month, he wouldn't be able to handle it. The third one, however, met all of Lin Fan's criteria. Even Fraud Tian clapped in agreement. This storefront originally belonged to a fortune-teller but he had withdrawn from his business due to personal reasons. If we were to take over this place, we just had to change the name of the shop and everything would already be good to go, Fraud Tian said. Lin Fan also felt that this particular storefront was decent. Although it wasn't very big, only measuring less than 20 square meters, for a fortune-telling business, it was more than enough space. Alright, I'll go ahead with this. Then, he immediately made a bid for it, along with the yearly rental fees, transfer fees, and property taxes. It added up to $250,000. Lin Fan felt quite sad to spend the money he had just like that, even though the money came to him rather easily. In a blink of an eye, $250,000 was gone and he had to be thrifty with the remaining $50,000. He signed the contract, paid the fees and obtained the keys. From then on, that was Lin Fan's fortune-telling stall. Finally, it came to the signboard. Initially, Lin Fan had just wanted to do a simple job, just to cover up the old one with another simple signboard. However, he decided to heed Fraud Tian's advice. The signboard is key to drawing customers to the stall. If it just had a simple design without a mysterious look to it, customers wouldn't choose to enter the stall. He spent over $10,000 on the signboard to the devastation of Lin Fan. Worth it, totally worth it. Fraud Tian looked at the dark, wooden signboard with satisfaction. All it had was Master Lin, painted in gold. They were upright and well spaced out, somehow there was a charm to it and it stood out in the streets. The furniture in the shop were all still in good condition and all they had to do was to tidy up. When should I start my business? Lin Fan asked. How about tomorrow? Fraud Tian said dreamily as he looked at the signboard, as if it was his dream to own a stall for his fortune-telling. Although it did not belong to him, Fraud Tian had already taken on the persona of the owner. After all, he was Lin Fan's partner. Alright, let's start tomorrow. Let's go. Lin Fan stretched out his hands, with a heart full of confidence. Fraud Tian stared at Lin Fan and held his hand before nodding in agreement. Let's go. With the remaining money of over $10,000, Lin Fan decided to keep it for his daily expenses and future use. When everything was done, Lin Fan went to buy a bicycle for himself so that he could use it to travel to work every day, which served to improve his physical fitness. Soon, it was night time. Lin Fan first opened WeChat and saw that Hua Han had sent tons of messages, threatening him in all sorts of ways. But Lin Fan was cold and firm. He pretended like he didn't see the messages and went on to look at the WeChat group that he was in. After a while, he felt that there was no point in doing that. So, he switched off the app. On the other hand, on Weibo, Lin Fan saw that his population of fans had increased by a few people. Under his discussion with Wang Mingyang, someone was furious. F***ck your mum, trying to compete with me. But it's okay, it was quite normal to have to deal with haters on the internet. Then, Wang Mingyang left a few comments on Lin Fan's Weibo. I admire you. Master Lin, are you there? Be nov calm, I promised you $1 million and I'll give it to you. What's your bank account details? Wang Ming sounded somewhat impatient in his last few comments, but Lin Fan had no idea. In his luxurious villa, Wang Mingyang paid close attention to his phone and kept scrolling through Weibo. He was indeed full of admiration for Lin Fan. He realized that perhaps Master Lin really had law-defying superpowers. In the eyes of the outsiders, Wang Mingyang seemed like a lunatic. He always tried to do seemingly impossible tasks by forcing people to produce results for these extremely difficult tasks. His poor attitude and an overbearing character was an exact replica of those arrogant CEOs commonly written about in novels. In the afternoon, Wang Mingyang had met the people that he had arranged for to play his games with. Although he knew that they had all ganged up against him for his money, he wanted to test Master Lin's capabilities. To the people who had ganged up for this, Wang Mingyang seemed like an ignorant fool. But what surprised them was that the unstoppable Wang Mingyang had outplayed every single one of them, as if he was the god of gambling. Besides recovering the $3 million that he had lost the previous day, he won $2 million on top of that. In the end, the three people said Wang Mingyang had cheated in the games. But Wang Mingyang replied firmly, "Don't even think of appearing in front of me again. If not, I'll make sure I teach all of you a lesson before you leave my sight." Did you really think I'm so stupid to not have known that all of you ganged up against me? These three people were all businessmen, but they weren't as influential and power as Wang Mingyang. In fact, their statuses were miles apart. In the end, they all left quickly. Why isn't this Master Lin replying? Wang Mingyang said impatiently. He was a man of his words. He had to give Lin Fan the money, if not he would feel uncomfortable. Then, Lin Fan replied, no need for that, during my free fortune telling sessions, I don't charge any fees. Wang Mingyang was stunned when he had seen his reply. Lin Fan really did not give Wang Mingyang any face. Wang Mingyang did not know that Lin Fan was extremely reluctant when he replied. To Lin Fan, wasn't he a *king idiot for not accepting free money? But the encyclopedia immediately warned Lin Fan. You have to honor your words. Since you said it was free, then you must not charge him any money. If not, you'll become paralyzed by a lightning strike. How about you go paralyze your own sister instead? There goes my $1 million. No, I, Wang Mingyang, am a man of my words. Give me your bank account details. Lin Fan was even more devastated at how firm Wang Mingyang was. Then, he painfully said, I said it was free. I, Master Lin, am also a man of my words. Wang Mingyang was furious. Only a stupid man would refuse free money. You're crazy, right? Lin Fan was actually heartbroken, but when he saw Wang Mingyang's reply, he was infuriated too. *CKU, you're the crazy one instead. I'm not going to accept your money. What can you do to me? Lin Fan was furious. He had given Wang Mingyang a free session and even wished him luck, but Wang Mingyang was still so rude to him. You've got balls, you've really got balls. Report your location to me. I'll make sure your stall closes down. Wang Mingyang had really never faced such a situation. He wanted to give someone money for free and the person actually rejected him. I'm not going to accept it. Listen carefully, my address is Shanghai, Cloud Street Block 8861. I'd be a B***** if I were to accept your money. B****, right. You're a B**** if you don't accept it. Okay, just wait and watch me. In a random old and worn-out house, someone named Autumn Sword Fish Killer looked at their conversation in the comments and was in disbelief. Then, he shouted, these two people must be *king idiots, right? Chapter 29. Here comes the enemy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. The next day at Cloud Street, Block 8861. The newly opened shop did not attract a lot of customers. However, it did catch the attention of the service staff of the surrounding shops. Looks like the fortune-telling shop opposite has a new operator, Dovico. Nobody really believes in these tricks anymore. It's no wonder the business only lasted a few months. The new boss looks really young and handsome. That's even worse, he would be even more unreliable since he's so young. On the first day of opening, Lin Fan was full of energy and enthusiasm. Shanghai was like a goldmine. As long as one worked hard and gained the respect of people, it would be extremely easy to become rich. Fraud Tian sat there as there was nothing to do at all. He was drinking his tea while reading The Judgment of Shaoxiang. He was wearing a robe which made him feel more in character while he was reading the book. Time quickly passed from morning to afternoon. Despite scores of people walking up and down the street, Lin Fan didn't even get a single customer. Fraud Tian couldn't take it. He was almost done with reading his book. Then, he just stood up and said, I can't go on like this. Not like this. I need a different course of action. Say what? Although Lin Fan was good at what he was doing, business was non-existent for him despite having opened for half a day. Fraud Tian stood at the door, inconspicuously looking at the people walking past under his sunglasses. his eyes darting around for potential customers. At that very moment, Fraud Tian took a step forward to block the path of a young man. Fraud Tian said without hesitation, "Hi sir, your facial features look out of the ordinary." The young man immediately cut him off, "Get away from me, scammer. You are the scum of the earth." Ha! Fraud Tian was taken aback. Then, he waited for the young man to leave before cursing under his breath, "Your sister." Upon seeing what happened to Fraud Tian, Lin Fan shook his head and heaved a sigh. It was nothing like what he had thought would happen. It was only the first day and there was absolutely no business at all. This was absurd. Lin Fan brainstormed and came up with an idea. He took a deep breath to calm himself down, taking out his phone to access Weibo. At that moment, a user with the nickname SpongeBob Kawaii Pants left a message. Chen Xine, female, born on the 4th of March, 1994, microblogger. It had never occurred to Lin Fan that Weibo microblogging was more popular than what he thought it would have been. It was almost a crime. It looked like Lin Fan had to offer his fortune-telling services online for free. He wanted to charge a fee, but seeing his current situation, it wasn't a wise move. After Lin Fan read the fortune of Chen Xine, he found out that she was actually a small-time celebrity, starring as a side cast in the show Love in Tokyo. Although she wasn't the main cast of the show, she was destined to have a bright future. Lin Fan's fortune-telling ability was almost god-like. Just one look at a person and he could tell all about the person, and he knew that Chen Xine's big break was tomorrow. "Keep the faith, tomorrow will be your lucky day." These words didn't really mean much on their own, but Lin Fan felt that it conveyed all that he had to say. Lin Fan was just about to close his Weibo page when he stumbled upon Chen Xine's Weibo page. It contained some of her photographs and information of the shows that she had acted in. But all these pictures only showed her acting in supporting roles, mostly as a maid. Furthermore, she only had 20,000 followers, of which was almost as good as nothing when compared to the mainstream stars. But one couldn't deny that she was young and good looking. In a rented apartment in the capital. Xine, there'll be an audition for a soap opera tomorrow. Do you think I'll be able to get the part? She was a young foreign girl in her early 20s who was living and working in Beijing. Apart from a few supporting roles, she also hadn't had her big break yet. "I have no idea, all I know is that we'll continue to try out best." Chen Xine placed her slender, snow-white legs against the wall and pouted. Things weren't looking good for the audition tomorrow. "If I'm able to make it big by playing dirty, I wouldn't hesitate, since I would get laid someday anyway. I should just do it for the sake of my career." "Luo Dan, you can't possibly be serious, right?" Chen Xine stared at Luo Dan in disbelief. "I was reciting from the script for the audition tomorrow, I didn't have any intention to play dirty," Luo Dan chirped. "Oh, what about the fortune teller on Weibo, what nonsense did he spout?" "My aunt told me to tell you not to believe such things. All of them are just scammers. If fortune-telling was real, why would we have to work so hard? We should just be fortune-tellers instead. If you believe it, it'll come true. If not, it won't come true at all." Chen Xine whipped out her mobile phone and took a quick glance. The fortune-teller replied. "Keep the faith, tomorrow will be your lucky day." That is as good as not saying anything. Our faith in anything has already been destroyed by reality. Luo Dan said grudgingly. "Unlike you, I still have hope." Chen Xine looked back at the line Lin Fan sent her. It was oddly reassuring. No hope. We'll see after the audition tomorrow if you still have hope." Luo Dan jumped onto Chen Xine and just a while later, they were in a mess. "Don't move, I need to reply the fortune-teller first." "Okay, I'm done." "Luo Dan, I'm going to kill you." Friendly laughter permeated the whole room. Chen Xine thought of the fortune teller. She looked up at the ceiling. Where was her god? It was today or never. Fraud Tian, let us get to work. Lin Fan thought for a while before standing up, and he was determined to get things done. What action? Fraud Tian stared at Lin Fan blankly. He didn't understand what was going on. Let's get to the streets and look for business instead of sitting here waiting for something to happen. Lin Fan said. I've said this to you before. We can only solve the problem if we take action. Fraud Tian closed his book and put it aside, all ready for the next move. At that moment, an animal-like sound roared across the street. Gosh! How expensive is that car? Fraud Tian exclaimed as his sharp eyes saw a menacing-looking sports car. Take a look. That sports car stopped in front of your shop. Could it be he's here to get his fortune read? Fraud Tian enthusiastically said. Quickly, a rich man is arriving. We must take the opportunity. Behind the sports car stopped a black Mercedes-Benz. Two men stepped out of the Mercedes, one of them holding a briefcase. The other man went to the door of the sports car and waited patiently. When the sports car appeared on the street, it caught the attention of all the passer-by. A handsome man who was wearing fitting clothes stepped out from the sports car. A few young females from the crowd squealed with excitement as they saw that scene. How dashing! He even has a sports car, he must be filthy rich. Wang Mingyang put on his sunglasses, tilted his head upwards and grinned to himself. Haha. Chapter 30. A Sudden Fight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations, can I ask where Master Lin is? Wang Mingyang stood at the door. His voice wasn't loud, but it was authoritative. Sir, are you here to get your fortune read? Or are you here to get your feng shui read? Fraud Tian warmly approached him. With such a rich customer like him, everything had to be done properly. The young rich man didn't even take notice of Fraud Tian, and he felt really awkward. Looks like you're the Master Lin who dared to insult me. Wang Mingyang stared at Lin Fan. After seeing the arrival of those two cars, Lin Fan already knew who it was. Sir, you shouldn't come out. Your fortune says that you will have blood on your head today. Haha. Upon hearing that, Wang Mingyang laughed. You're an interesting one, you didn't predict anything else except for my demise. Fraud Tian looked at them dumbfounded. Since when did Lin Fan have connections, that rich guy? Why didn't he know anything about it? Lin Fan had never met someone who was so serious and earnest. He looked at the suitcase that was by Wang Mingyang's side and saw that it was full of money. If you know that my predictions are accurate, shouldn't you be leaving this place to avoid it? Lin Fan said. Wang Mingyang let out a chuckle as he gestured for his servant to open the suitcase. Inside was nothing but stacks of cold, hard cash. Fraud Tian pinched himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming. That is a lot of money, he thought, salivating at the sight of it. What on earth was going on? Lin Fan's heart pounded inside him as he saw the cash. It was really a lot of money. It was a pity that Lin Fan couldn't take the money, otherwise, he would have been struck down by lightning. I won't say anything else. The fortune you read for me yesterday was 100% accurate, and I credit you for that. Wang Mingyang said. Lin Fan looked normal on the outside, but his heart was breaking on the inside. With all the determination he could muster, he said, a free fortune. Reading is a free fortune reading. I will not take your money. It pained Lin Fan to say those words. He really wanted the money. The exchange between Wang Mingyang and Lin Fan left Fraud Tian confused. That was $1 million, he'd be crazy not to keep it. Since you read his fortune correctly, this money should be yours. Why won't you keep it? He came here just to pay you the money. Fraud Tian was frustrated. Someone was trying to give Lin Fan $1 million at his doorstep and he wouldn't keep it. He thought Lin Fan was an idiot. Lin Fan kept silent. He had a glimmer of hope in him, but it only lasted for a second, and it was gone. Note: Fraud Tian and the host are partners. If he were to take it, it would be the same as the host receiving the money. *T. I won't keep it. Lin Fan shouted. BDNV Fraud Tian was stunned and he looked at Lin Fan. Since he already took the effort to send the money to your front door, just take the money and give him some face. Fraud Tian sounded desperate. Fraud Tian knew that Lin Fan had definitely wanted the money. But he wanted his pride more than the money and so he didn't keep it. Even if it was just $100, Lin Fan would already have remembered this lesson dearly, needless to say, $1 million. This isn't a question about my own pride, but of my own principles. Lin Fan heaved a sigh. Whatever he had just said went against his convictions. Wang Mingyang stared at Lin Fan as he took the suitcase and placed it between them. You have your principles and I have mine. When I say something, I will stop at nothing to complete it. Wang Mingyang's temper was unparalleled. His way of thinking and doing things was far beyond a normal person. At this point, the crowd that gathered around them started increasing in numbers. Soon enough, they were surrounded by a circle of spectators. What's happening between these two? They look like they're going to fight. I heard that this guy wanted to give the boss of this shop $1 million, but he rejected it and now these two are going to fight. What the F***ck? Are you for real? This boss is an idiot and that guy is also equally stupid. We're talking about $1 million. If he doesn't want the money, why did he still insist on giving it to him? This fortune-telling shop just opened, could it be that they are doing this to promote their business? Promotion. You can go and look for $1 million in cash to help me promote my shop. Look at his sports car, it's worth more than $10 million, $1 million wouldn't even be enough for the rental. The crowd discussed the matter spiritedly, as Lin Fan and Wang Mingyang gave each other death stares, waiting for one to yield to the other. Wang Mingyang was indeed an incredibly stubborn man. Although Wang Mingyang was a tyrant when it came to business, he was sincere when it came to people. If others were loyal to him, he would do the same to them and treat them better than anyone else. Slam. Wang Mingyang chugged the suitcase at Lin Fan's abdomen. You better keep this. Come, let's go. Wang Mingyang didn't look back. After shoving the suitcase into Lin Fan's abdomen, he motioned for his servants to follow him off. Lin Fan was almost at his breaking point. Lin Fan tugged Wang Mingyang backwards. I don't want this money, take it back. Let go of me. Wang Mingyang pointed at Lin Fan's face. He was getting more angry by the second. Take your money back with you. Lin Fan pointed at Wang Mingyang and said, he wasn't threatened by Wang Mingyang at all. Chief Wang. Wang Mingyang's subordinates couldn't stand the way their boss was being treated. Stand there, this is none of your business. No matter what happens, you guys will stay put, got it? Wang Mingyang said aggressively. Yes, boss. The two subordinates nodded their head. They knew that when their boss said something, he was going to stick with it even if the heaven falls and earth ends. The two subordinates stood quietly at the side. I'll say it one more time. Let go of me. I can't take this money back. Wang Mingyang shouted. Take the money with you and I'll let go. Otherwise, I won't do anything. Lin Fan could only dream of the money, but even if he took it, he couldn't spend it because it would cost him his life. If Wang Mingyang didn't take it away, it would definitely cost Lin Fan his life. Are you mentally ill? Or do you want to fight? Wang Mingyang had it. It was his first time in such a bizarre situation like this and it looked like Lin Fan didn't want to give him any face at all. You're the one with mental problems. I don't want your money, yet you still insist on giving me. Is it because you have too much money? Or is it because you want to fight? Lin Fan was also losing his temper. After all, Lin Fan wasn't a pushover. After changing careers to fortune-telling, he didn't have any business at first, and today he had a huge sum of money at his doorstep but he couldn't take it. How frustrating. Fine, come at me then. If you don't hit me then you're a coward. You better keep the money now. Wang Mingyang thought that no one dared to touch him. As long as I hit you, you'll keep the money, right? Lin Fan said. That's right, but you wouldn't dare. Slam. At that moment, Lin Fan struck Wang Mingyang's eyes. Wang Mingyang looked at him as he tried to process what just happened. He thought that no one would actually dare to hit him. With one punch, Wang Mingyang looked like a panda, with a black circle around his eye. You. I've hit you, now take your money back. He'd rather punch someone than to lose his own life. Slam. At that moment, Wang Mingyang's fist connected with Lin Fan's eye. D*menu, that was a sneaky move. Lin Fan was getting really furious since Wang Mingyang was so scheming. Then, Lin Fan took another swing at Wang Mingyang's other eye. You dare to hit me? I just hit you. So what? Take the money and leave. D*menu, I'm not taking the money back. Wang Mingyang and Lin Fan started getting at each other aggressively. I'll kill you. Lin Fan taunted. Nobody shall come near. This is between me and him. Wang Mingyang shouted. At this point, everyone in the crowd was dumbfounded. It was way beyond their comprehension. Since when did people like this exist? It's just money. If you didn't want it you could just pass it to us.